Right, I recreate this number plate so that you can see how I created this raised section, this border. So this would be a prequel to the text scaling video I recreated. So because I've already done this, I will create a new number plate. I'll go and create a new file, create a new body. I'll create a number plate from scratch. I'll use the centered rectangle. So click on centered rectangle. And because we want nice rounded corners, we'll also do the rounded corners option here. So we choose the center of the rectangle, which is the center of the screen. And the dimensions that we used before were, because it's highlighted, see down the bottom there, it's already in the blue highlighting. We can just enter 230, press tab. It'll now move to, I'll just zoom out a bit. It'll move to the vertical dimension, which we'll call 70. Tab, and now we go to the radius, and I'm going to put 5 mil. There's the radius, and there we go. So we've got a 5 millimeter radius corner. Right, I'll close that. We'll extrude it up by 2 millimeters. So we've got our basic number plate. So now we'll do the raised border around the perimeter. So I'll select that face, the top face we want to draw on, do a sketch. And again, I'll use this centered rectangle. And so I'll click on that. Select the rounded corner option again and choose the center. And I'll just create about 225 in the horizontal dimension. I'm not going, and I'll just drag to give it close to what we want to do. I'm not going to actually select a number at the moment there. It's what, 66 odd. We'll go somewhere there. And I'll just drag the corner in a bit to give it a bit of a rounded edge somewhere about there. We don't have to worry about what those dimensions are too drastically. And we'll do that again. So that gives you the outside perimeter of the raised section, and then we'll choose the center again because we've still got that selected, the centered rectangle. And this time I'll do 223 in the horizontal. Again, we don't have to worry too much about the height, but just don't let it snap to the other one because that'll put in a constraint that we can't change. So just select it somewhere about there and then give it a sort of a corner. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is, just so there is a corner there. So right click to get out of that. So I'm going to zoom in. It doesn't matter which corner you zoom in on. This is just the corner I used in when I created the number plate previously for the text scaling video. We're going to have to do create external geometry because we want to actually find and use this arc. We want to make our other corners concentric with that arc. So, right, we've selected that, right click, deselect. So basically this purple dot here, so that purple dot in there, that's the center point of that arc. So we've got this arc here, and the center of that arc is this one. As you can see, if you move that, you change a few things. So before, we'd set the location of this right-hand edge by typing in the dimension we had previously, 225, I think it was. I didn't bother fixing this because I wanted to be, we could move it, right? I didn't want to be in a fixed position. And we can also change the radius of that, but at least we've got this right-hand edge fixed. Now to make this concentric with this one, we want the center point of the arc to be at the same point as the center point of this arc. So we'll select the center point of that arc, which is the exterior one. We'll click on the center point of this one. So we've now got both of those selected. and then we'll go and choose the constraint coincident. Boom. So now the center of that arc and the center of this arc are both around this same position. So the center of this arc and the center of this arc are now here. Okay. So we want to do the same thing for this arc. I mean, we sort of can move it up a little bit to make it sort of close to what we want. We can muck around with it by dragging things. We can, get it close to being where we want, just so that it doesn't want to fail on us for some unknown reason. Right, so the same as the outer dimension, this one's already fixed, this vertical line, because we gave it a dimension. When we were setting it up, we constrained that dimension, whereas we didn't constrain these other ones. Again, this center point is the center point of this arc and this arc. So we want that to be the center point of this arc as well. So we select that, select this one, coincident, there we go. So now those two are fully constrained. So I'll close that. So we've got those two lines. And if we pad that, let's say pad it by, I'm going to say 0.5, because the width of the distance between those two lines currently is 1 millimeter. So I'm going to say 0.5 as the height we're going to extrude. Right. So now we can just zoom in here and have a look at that. What we want to now do is do a fillet. So we want to do a fillet around the full internal perimeter and one on the outside. Now, you don't actually have to select every single line segment all the time, only where there's a bit of ambiguity. But here, that line segment, if we fillet that, FreeCAD's going to assume you want to actually fillet the entire thing. Now, we can do it one by one. So if we do this, and we can fillet it, because it's only 0.5 mil high, fillets can be problematic if you make the fillet the same size as the height that we've got available to us. So we're just going to go slightly. So if I do that, I'll just show you. If I make it 0.5, it'll fail and probably will lose everything. Right, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. So if we make it just slightly less, because what would happen is if they filleted this all the way down to 0, it removes any trace of this edge, and it can't do that. So I'll make it 0.49, and there we go. So we actually still end up with a 0.01 millimeter straight section here, which is that face. And we could now do this other one as well. But because we're still in this fillet, I haven't actually selected OK to get out of this. We can add this other one to this list. So I can press a select, and I can add this one. So we've now got both those edges, the inside edge and the outside edge, and press OK. Now it's filleted both the inside and the outside. Alternatively, if I delete that fillet, I could have selected this edge, and then you can't just select the other one like you do with dots and things later. So I've select this edge, that one's green, hold the control button down to select another edge, and then use the fillet, and it just adds those two edges to this selection straight away. And again, we'll make that 0.49. A good way to make it happen before we get out of it is, rather than pressing OK, just press Tab. That basically just moves the cursor from one place on this box to somewhere else, and therefore updates the view. We're happy with that view, no need to change the dimension. Then we can press OK to get out. You'll see there is a space between those two fillets for the same reason there's a space down here. We just make it slightly smaller so that we actually get around it without losing the face that's in between. Because if we had have made it 0.5, then we would have made the width of this 0, and it can't have a face with a width of 0. So that's why we go with the slightly smaller fillet radius. So that is the fillet. Now you may want to make this slightly bigger or closer to the edge. You can, now that you've done the fillet, you can go back to this sketch. You can, the only constraint we had originally was this dimension. So we've got those two dimensions, 225 and 223. We know the outside is 230. Let's say we want to leave a millimetre gap. We can make it 229. 229. Well, that leaves half a mil gap because it's half mil this side, half mil the other side. So let's make it 228. Right. And let's say you wanted it to be, well, the whole thing's only 2 mil thick. So we don't want the height of the bump to be, twice the height of, higher than the thickness of the number plate. Well, real number plates are. They're only half a mil thick, and then their bumps are quite high. But anyway, we will say that we want the height to be the same as the plate, so that's 2 mil high, which means that we'll want a 1 mil radius. So we'll make it 2 mil wide. So we need to be 4 mil less. So we'll make it 224. Right. So that should all be okay. So we've got a 2 mil gap, 1 mil gap to the outside, 2 mil between them. Press close. But now you'll see that we've still got this fillet. It's still only 1 mil high. So we'll go to the pad. It's half mil high. We'll change this. I mean, you can just change it here because you may get confused about what this is other length. That other length is nothing because we didn't use 2 dimensions when we did the padding. So that just stays at the default value. So we'll just make this one 1 mil high so that we come up there. So now it's standing off. We've got a 0.49 radius. So what we'll do now is on the fillet, we'll change the radius to 0.99. 0.99, and there we go. So it's 2 millimeters wide. It's a radius of 0.99. There you go. So that's how you make the raised edge around your number plate. So I think that actually looks a bit better than the original. That's it.